model of constraints suggests that movements occur based on the environment, the individual, and the task. And so this is a framework that I use when designing group programs, when I think about the impact that coaches have, but I also think there's an application to life. And our constraints can be broken down into structural, which is like your physical structure, and functional, which is more your behaviors. Environment is things like the weather or gravity, and then the task is what you're trying to achieve, maybe the rules and maybe the equipment. Sporting context, what this looks like is, let's say you're a basketball player, you have to operate under the task constraints of the game of basketball, the rules of that game, and trying to score points. The environmental constraints of the conditions of the floor, what the temperature is in the gym, and the individual constraints of who you are. We use task constraints to manipulate the behaviors that we want to see. So for example, I use a lot of like goblet lifts really early on in a program because it constrains an individual to keep a really upright posture and to be in a much more stacked body. Large group, you want to use constraints to your advantage. To encourage the behaviors that you want to see when you aren't going to be able to give the same amount of instruction or attention to everyone. Eventually, our goal as a coach is to use so many task constraints that we actually alter the individual's constraints. That through training, we've created a change in an athlete's structure or in their behaviors. So they're physically capable of more, or their mindset is shifted so they believe they are. Usually only get to alter one end of that triangle. They usually only get to work on the task constraint point. But in life, as an individual, you get to go to all three. You can change whichever point that you want because life is not as limited as sport. So if you don't like your environment and you don't like where you are, you can change it. If you do not like your individual limitations, you can change them. You can change your physical structure quite a bit these days, and you can change your mindset on things. And then the most important is the task. If you are exhibiting behaviors that you don't like, you can change the task, so change the outcome that you desire. Adjust things so that you are aligning a lot more with your own values. That athletes are trying to exhibit at the end of the day is to win. They play to win. And in life, you want to set up your constraints so that that is the end behavior for you as well. Change your environment, change your individual limitations, and change what your goal is to win. Define what winning is. So it's not as clear as it is in sports. If your definition of winning is a life that aligns with your values, and your values are to work but to also have fun, then you need to make sure that you have both of those things in your life.